We all do remember the final verdict in the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard divorce case. The $50 million defamation lawsuit that came after, and how it all ended. But do you know the full story? The tiny, easy-to-miss details? The unfulfilled $7 million charity donation promise? Donor-led money that wasn't always hers? A fingertip found on a kitchen floor? An op-ed that sparked a 6-week courtroom inferno? You better hang around, cause the actual story is juicier than you think it is. Now a quick note before we begin, guys. Everything I say here is pulled from public filings, courtroom testimony, charity statements, and reporting, paraphrased and narrated by an AI voice. I won't play trial audio or show copyrighted images, just the facts and a little twist that made this saga stick. Let's start with a quick origin story. The short-lived marriage of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard in early 2015 to May 23, 2016. Amber Heard filed for divorce and walked away with $7 million in divorce settlement. The split went public fast, and their joint statement used that deliciously lawyerly phrase, intensely passionate and periodically volatile. Lawyers love those lines. The statement would later be reread like a fortune cookie. Heard got $7 million in settlement and said she'd donate the whole thing, half to the ACLU, half to Children's Hospital Los Angeles. Huh. Nice, neat, and headlining. But then came the plot twist. The charities and court testimony show pledges and credits, but not a single theatrical check. ACLU witnesses later testified to receiving only about $1.2 to $1.3 million toward her pledge of $3.5 million. CHLA's later records show much less direct payment of $250,000 credited from her. Now let's go deeper. Charities sometimes credit a named pledge even when money arrives via donor-advised funds, EFs, or third parties. That means a charity's ledger can show credited to Heard, while the actual funds came through a different donor channel. Reporters and testimony flagged at least one large donation that wasn't a direct personal check, making the "she paid it herself" story more suspicious than it already was. Now here's one detail in the story that you either missed and will leave you shocked. In March 2015, during an incident in Australia, medical witnesses testified that a tip of Mr. Depp's finger was recovered from the kitchen floor. There was 2 stories of how the injury was allegedly caused. Mr. Depp's version of the story was that Heard threw a large vodka bottle. One bottle shattered where Depp's hand resting on a basement bar, severing the tip of his middle finger. Miss Heard's version of the story was that she did not know how that injury happened. She suggested that it might have occurred when Depp smashed a wall-mounted phone. Statements from one of 2 witnesses who came into the home after the injury incident had occurred said that he found the fingertip in the kitchen bar area and placed it in a bag of ice to try and preserve it. Witnesses for Heard contested certain elements, whether the bottle was thrown, whether bone exposure was visible, how clean the injury looked, whether certain messages on walls and lamps were actually done by Depp or Heard. Heard's team presented medical experts arguing some of the injuries appeared more consistent with other mechanisms, not glass bottle. The exact time lag between the injury occurring, discovery of the fingertip, and medical treatment has slightly differing testimony. Some of the damage descriptions vary between witness accounts, e.g. exact location of fingertip when found, extent of bleeding, likely normal in such a traumatic event, but relevant for credibility in court. Another big reason why the public picked sides were the tiny audio clips and texts. Short recordings of Heard saying she'd hit Depp were played in court and became viral. But we won't play those clips here. Instead, I'll paraphrase. Jurors heard short admissions that were easy to clip and even easier to weaponize on social media. Those 20-second cuts often mattered more to viewers than hours of testimony. Welcome to modern history. Amber Heard in early May 2022 made mention of a rumor she heard of Depp having shoved an ex down a flight of stairs. She made mention of this to explain some of her own reactions in the relationship. Kate Moss later testified by video in late May 2022 to rebut a rumor Amber Heard had referenced in testimony, the claim that Johnny Depp had once pushed her down a flight of stairs. Moss's statement was short and to the point. She said she never was pushed downstairs by Depp. She recalled slipping on wet steps in Jamaica and Depp coming to help her. December 2018. Amber writes a short Washington Post op-ed about being a public figure who had spoken about domestic abuse. Now, she didn't name Depp, but the op-ed's implications were the match that lit the legal fuse. Depp argued readers would identify him, and that the piece harmed his career, which led to the $50 million defamation suit he filed. For non-lawyers, a public figure defamation requires proving that the statements were false, caused harm, and were made with actual malice, meaning the author knew they were false or recklessly ignored the truth. That is a high bar, perfect for a dramatic courtroom. In April, May 2022, the Fairfax County courtroom ran for 6 weeks. There were witnesses, photos, texts, and the fingertip story, all the messy human stuff. How staff, doctors, friends, people you'd never expect, suddenly became critical witnesses. Jurors had to weigh dozens of small, clashing memories. June 1st, 2022, the jury returned a mixed verdict. They found parts of the op-ed defamatory and awarded to Johnny Depp $10 million in compensatory damages and $5 million in punitive damages, in which case, Virginia law capped punitive damages at $350,000, bringing Depp's collectible to an amount of $10.35 million on paper. Big numbers, sure, those make big headlines, while also awarding her a smaller sum of $2 million on a counterclaim, which was non-deserving in my opinion. But hey, going further, the net result, after offsets, for Depp came to $8.35 million net award. Later, in December 2022, both sides settled all remaining claims. Heard agreed to pay $1 million to Depp, covered by her insurance, per reports. Depp publicly stated he would donate that money to charity. And, finally, closing the case. Why did this whole thing explode? Oh, that's simple. Short clips, hot takes, and people's desperate need to pick a team. TikTok saw 6 weeks of courtroom footage and said, cool, let's make memes. Everyone suddenly had a law degree and a ring light. Confirmation bias? Oh yeah, people only watch the clips that prove what they already believe. You see that? He blinked twice. That means innocence. Or, see how she looked left? Liar. Identity signaling. Please, this wasn't a trial. It was the Hunger Games, Internet edition. Hashtags for loyalty, merch for opinions, and moral superiority for dessert. Add a sprinkle of trauma, a dash of celebrity, and algorithms that adore chaos. And boom, you got the perfect social Rorschach test. Everyone saw what they wanted to see. But, moral of the story, don't build your worldview off 30-second clips. The internet edits like a reality show, heavy on drama, light on context. Remember always to check the receipts. And there you have it, guys. That's the tiny, juicy anatomy of Depp versus Heard. Romance, a headline-friendly check, donor fund detours, a fingertip, clipped audio, and a verdict that gave both sides something to claim. And if you want the receipts, public filings, charity statements, and court dockets, I linked everything in the description. If this was the tea you liked, hit like and subscribe, and I'll keep pulling threads for you. One scandal, properly sourced, one at a time.